Good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Anthony. I am posting in response to EDL 695 International and Comparative Education. This is our week 2 module, and the question is discuss specific educational issues in your own professional context in light of any of those defenses. In other words, think about what you see and have seen in education and use those defenses to support exploring that issue elsewhere in the world. So I'm going to pull up the defenses and discuss with you the ones that I would like to link in my professional experience. Currently, I am a principal of a middle school, and I've had several opportunities to discuss or observe some of these defenses up close. So the first I want to talk about is offers a yardstick by which to judge the performance of education systems. So in our district, naturally, like all districts, we have a lot of assessments that we have, a lot of assessment tools, formative and summative. As I have been reading the comparative and international education and trying to wrap my head around what comparative education is, and in respect to international education, I know the international education is obviously the educational systems in other nations. Dr. Garrett Dickers in a post this week discussed a couple of schools, districts, a couple of nations, and it might have been last week's post. I watched a video presentation, and she discussed, she called Finland specifically. As we know, Finland has been number one, or the top of the international rankings. And I remember doing my master's program, learning about Finland and thinking, hey, how simple is that over in that country? Let's just send some people over and see what works in Finland and replicate it in America. But then one of our classmates, David, talked about something today that really got my mind, really made me think about a couple of things, changed my perspective, or I guess opened up my perspective. For a long time, as we talk about American education, we seem to try to lump it all together. So we say, our country, our students, how they rank in the world. Well, basically, our system is set up on 50 separate countries, and because we have 50 separate states, and they have 50 separate standards or 50 separate ways in which they are graded, or what is mastery in their state. Our system, or our curriculum, comes from or the standard course of study is different from state to state. Even with the Common Core, there are some similarities, but not every state has embraced those concepts yet. And even with that, there is a way that it needs to be rolled out, and a whole paradigm shift that needs to take place, a whole new way of delivering instruction that goes along with it. So even with the full implementation, there's still some lag time. And so I was thinking about how Finland compares to other countries, and particularly the United States. David also referenced, that Florida, compared to Ireland, that Florida is right there with Ireland students, but as a nation, we might be 43rd, but Florida ranks right beside us. So basically, I said all that to say, with our yardstick by which to judge performance of education systems, that the assessment tools that we use, are they relevant to what we're trying to do today as an educational system for a nation and internationally? So how are our students being judged? I know that they use the PISA and the TIM system, but and even with those systems are assessment tools that assess on two different they assess for two different competencies. So what are we doing? And so with my professional opinion, I just talk about something that has happened in my district. We've been looking for an assessment tool, and we've gone from MAP, and we have, like, let's say we have 50 schools in my district. 25 of them were MAP schools. 25 of the other 25 were iReady schools. We did some data. iReady came out on top, so now we're doing iReady system wide, where the 25 schools that weren't doing it before now have to learn those systems and implement it for the best of their ability. But there's a side or there's an issue that comes along with that, because teachers keep going through so many different changes that it's hard for them to get 100% behind anything, because they know in a couple of years it's just going to change again. So as a principal, I have to keep reminding them of what our common goal is and what our vision is, and to do all that we can to implement that vision Another defense that I would like to talk about is that it helps foster cooperation and mutual understanding among nations by discussing cultural differences and similarities and offering explanations for them. Now, my professional opinion or my professional experience with fostering cooperation on cultural differences, in our school we have three different languages that are being spoke, and there is a lot that comes along with the understanding the culture. And I will use this as an example. We're very student centered. I'm a third year principal, so I've been at the school for 3 years, and I really believe in survey data, getting student feedback. So we've been having after school functions, dances, festivals, and we had a subgroup of students that weren't represented. So first year, I just was trying to get my head around who's coming and the process and the procedures in place. But the second year really focused on, okay, why aren't all of our students coming? So, you got some students that are just too cool for it. I'm just not coming to the dance, but I'm in 8th grade, and, middle school dances are silly. So you have to deal with that, right? But, and that comes along with being an 8th grader. But I talked to one subgroup of students. I said, hey, how come you don't come to the dances? And he said, well, Mr. Anthony, y'all don't, you guys don't play our music, our cultural music, the music that represents our culture. I mean, you play pop, you play rap, you play country, but you don't play our style of music. So our friends, we just don't come because we don't feel inclusive. So it really made me take a step back, because I thought that we had a respectful, inclusive environment, because the hallways are clean and the students walk in the line, and everyone, is respectful to each other on a day-to-day basis, and it's a safe place. And I just thought the kids were happy to come there, and for the most part they are. But that made me really take an environmental scan, or do an environmental scan after that statement, to make sure that all of our cultures are being represented. So internationally, it would be beneficial for us to really understand and embrace where our students come from, and to see what we can incorporate in our school specifically to make those guys and girls feel included into our school. So like I said, the survey data told us one thing. We give them opportunity to select their music. So all students that are coming to the dance, and even if they don't come, we still have the Google Doc out that they can put in music that they want to hear. Of course, we screen it beforehand. We have our DJ is he understands what we're trying to do, so the music that he gets is definitely friendly and clean. But they have an opportunity to put in whatever songs they want. So if it's Latin, if it's I don't know. I mean, just whatever culture they want to hear. If they want to hear a song, they're able to hear a song. So all students that attend the dance get to select at least one song, and that what we've seen, our trend, our data has shown us that more students from the different AMO or the different subgroups are starting to come to the dances, starting to come to the cultural fest, starting to come to the festivals, which is building a bridge between the community, the home, and the parents. So we're getting more stakeholders involved as we turn our school around and continue to change the culture of the school. And the last defense I want to talk about is that it has an important supportive and instructional role to play in the development of any plans of educational reform, when there must be concern to examine experience elsewhere. So professionally, when we're talking about reform, right now we are a tier 2 school, which is basically a low performance school. We've been identified as that. Based on data, like I said, we've only been there 3 years, kind of what we inherited. We've been growing. We've shown growth, we haven't dropped any, but I guess we haven't grown at the rate that has been deemed quick enough. So long story short, we have a team that's going to come in and help us to implement some educational reform in our school. And as a school, we have input into what the district is doing to support our low performance schools. So that's my professional experience with it. And internationally, it would be great to have some type of dialogue with schools that are successful and schools that are not successful, deemed by whatever assessment tool, and find ways to foster relationships and to build collaboration, so that so that what is working, what is successful, is being replicated and successfully implemented into those districts. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or leave a response or a reply to my post. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful evening.